Well, hello, friends. How are you? It's Joni here at Joni's Journals. Welcome and welcome back. And of course, welcome to day 2 of Creep on June 2025. I hope you're as excited as I am. This is actually my 3rd year videoing for Tracy as a member of her creative design team. It was actually Creep on June 4 years ago where I was posting constantly, if not every single day, on our Facebook page, the Foxy Crafters. And that brought me to Tracy's attention, and she asked me to be a member of the design team. I was a little nervous at first because I do work, and my days are tiring to say the least. So I hesitated at first, and I explained that I probably wouldn't be able to post as much as many of the other people did. But she said, not a problem. You do what you can do when you can do it. So I kind of feel like this is my anniversary in a sense. But here we are, and I am day 2. When Tracy posted the calendar of who was going to go where, and I saw that I was day 2, I felt a sigh of relief. It sort of made it seem that I didn't feel as competitive with trying to do everything as beautifully as all of our contributors usually do. You're going to be astounded by what you see come out of this. All of the makes, I guarantee you, are going to be spectacular. So with that in mind, I said, oh gosh, I'm day 2. I'm going to have to step up and really present and step up my game. But then I thought, okay, well, I'm actually leading the pack this year. Well, of course, behind Tracy. And I have not seen her video yet because I am actually recording this on the 31st of May. I want to make sure it comes out well and that it actually does publish to YouTube, because if you follow me for a while, you know my problems with our Wi-Fi. So yeah, I'm doing it a few days in advance to give myself number 1, a chance to redo it if it stinks, and also give myself a chance to get it uploaded and set and ready to come out on June 2nd. So with all of that said, I was just like, okay, well, I'm only day 2. I can watch what everybody else is going to do, and I can do my own thing and not have to worry that my stuff is not going to be as good as everyone's, because I always have that feeling that because I don't do as many flourishes and do as many, add-ons that other people do, I just feel like sometimes if I'm in the middle of the pack, that mine's not as great. With all of that said, welcome to day 2. I am going to add all of the links for the kit and for this calendar that you see in front of you. You're not seeing any names on here, but this calendar works great. All you have to do is go in once you've gone to the calendar and you click on the day, and that person will pop up. And you can, number 1, most importantly, please go over and subscribe to everyone so that we can all use subscribers. I've seen my numbers have bumped up. I guess people have clicked on the little box number 2 in hopes that they'll see my video pop up. You can always use the hashtag. I believe it's going to be hashtag Creep on June 2025. Don't take me for the set rule. That's what I'm positive it's going to be. But sometimes if you put in hashtag Creep on June 25, other people's works will pop up because sometimes people don't always get the hashtag correct. So I'm going to link this calendar, and I am, of course, going to link the kit. It is, just go over to the Etsy or wherever you want to purchase the kit from, Tracy's other shop, I forgot what it's called, Tracy Fox Creative, because she does have another shop up and running as well. And you will be, if you are not frightened, you're going to get a chuckle too, because it's based, I can't say it's based, it's centered around Edgar Allan Poe, but there are games this year. There are gorgeous journal pages, as always. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So, with all of that said, my make this year is centered around Frankenstein. Whoa, I am so sorry about that. I went to pull up my sleeve and I knocked my camera. Back to what I was saying. My make is centered on Frankenstein. I've read the book. It was a wonderful book. It's sad in the end. If you haven't read it, go read it. It was written in 1818. And it will grip you. Okay. It's a gripping story, and you have to go read it. But I'm taking a little bit of fun out of Frankenstein, and I am creating the Bride of Frankenstein, which is not a character in the book, but we've all seen those little like 1950s movies where it pops up that all of a sudden Frankenstein has a bride. First of all, the monster is the monster. The monster is not Frankenstein. The gentleman who created him is Dr. Frankenstein, okay? But we use the term Frankenstein liberally. Okay, now, with that said, I'm going to give you a look first at the journal that I have created for the make. And I picked this picture out of all of the ephemera and the pictures to be my journal cover. And I thought, well, how am I going to make this spooky? So I added a little bit of moss to it. And I said, oh, the moss is going to make him look like he's just really creepy. Well, quite frankly, I think he looks silly because I added the moss at the top and a little bit in the bottom. And instead of it look like the moss is creeping in on the monster, it just kind of looks like he has a furry haircut. So, and of course, I added one of my glass eyes, which I used in my makes last year that I purchased on Amazon because I couldn't find them anywhere else. And so, yeah, this is my journal cover. I used the Tim Holtz stamp set. Oh, I have to grab it now. Up. And it's probably going to reflect in the camera, but it is Specimen. Okay, it's the Tim Holtz Specimen. It's CMS 410. It's available through Stampers Anonymous. They never stop making any of their stamps. So if you're interested, you can go over and purchase it. And I used my stamps as a background for my cover underneath my photo of Frankenstein with his fluffy haircut. And I'm going to show you the back because I did use the stamps on the back as well. And I went over them with my glitter pen, which I never remember the name of, but I'll link it in the description box below. So all I did, I simply printed out, this is my cover because everything is based on, my make is based on Frankenstein. I just pulled out a bunch of the pictures from the kit and I kind of mimicked the first page. But I'm going to give you a quick glance at what all of the papers look like because I did print out every single page and I would say most of the backgrounds as well. And I compiled them all together and I just made a one signature journal, which I can guarantee you I will never write in, but I will be adding things to it as the month goes along. I just can never cover up any of these beautiful images. And so, yeah, I have a very hard time working in my journal, but I will use the background pages and add some things to them. So you can see we have a little bit of almost every spooky monster that is available, and they are sampled in all of these pages. So yeah, Okay, I will just continue through. This is my Frankenstein's Bride, and I will show you more of that as the video goes along. But here's Frankie, and let's see. I use very thick paper to print on, and so yeah, sometimes I don't know if I'm flipping over one page or 2 pages. But there is a quick glimpse at all of the journal pages that are available to you. So now, moving on with my theme of the Bride of Frankenstein, of course, there has to be a wedding invitation. Now, I'm going to show you several things that I made, and we are going to do one make just because I don't want to bog you down with all of the different things that I have created. I created 2 because I wanted you to see that there are different ways that you can create these. I have used my page from my day and taken the tag and created a wedding invitation. Now, along with my page, this was my poem, Fair River in Thy Bright, Clear Flow. Yeah, let's try that again. Fair River, in thy bright, clear flow, thou art an emblem of the glow. For in my heart, as in thy stream, her image deeply lies. So, Frankenstein writing to his bride. Now, on my own, I created my wedding invitation. And I tend to do this as part of most of my makes anyway. And it says, please join us for the event of the year happening at the doctor's place. The uniting of the happy couple, Frank N. Stein and Glory S. Munster. Frankenstein and Glorious Munster. On the 31st of the month of October in 1818 at midnight. It promises to be an electrifying experience. RSVP to the doctor by 6/6/1818. And all I've done, as I said, I took a piece of vellum to make it a proper fancy card, and I just put that over. I measured it to the same size as my tag. I covered the tag with the vellum, stitched everything together. I just simply made 2 holes. And of course, we're uniting the hearts of our 2 monsters. So here we are. I cut out these 2 little pieces of ephemera, which are hearts, of course, and I made that the cover for my invitation. Now, in lieu of using the ephemera, I also had some die cuts. And I used a floral die cut that I had left over from something else that I made. And again, I just made my invitation in exactly the same way. I cut my vellum to fit. I made 2 little holes, and I just tied my invitation together. Now, as we move along, as you know, every wedding has a wedding album. And this is simply the same album that we made the last time when I showed you how to make the family photo album. I did it in 2 parts. The second part was just me simply gluing things in and showing you how to do that. But in the initial one, we made our actual album. So I'm not going to show you how to make the album again. You can go back. I'll link that video. And you can go back and make your own wedding album. Now, this one is made from corrugated cardboard. I didn't use my chipboard this time. I did just cut it out of corrugated cardboard. And it's 5 by 5.5 by 5.5. And these flowers that you see on the front, again, are die cuts that I had left over. And I just simply colored them purple because purple to me is part of Halloween. And Halloween, Creep on June reminds me of Halloween. So I just simply used my little flowers and I inked them with several of my purple inks. And I die cut out the words, Our Wedding. So let's take a peek inside of our little wedding album. And I did poke some holes and I made a little tie closure for it. Here again are some of the leftover flowers, which are Glory's bridal bouquet. Now you can see I've laid down some of the pictures from the ephemera pack. And also on the back of each picture page, I've written what it stands for. So, under the moonlight, at the stroke of midnight, we exchanged our vows and gave our hearts. Now again, it's another piece of ephemera with a heart inside of a mason jar. And these are their vows. They both read the poem to each other. I've made Glory's. I've crossed out her and put in his. And then we move along beside the river. Now, the river is a big part of the poem. And so we exchanged our vows and gave our hearts beside the river. Now, remember, all of these gorgeous pictures, I should say, with the exception of the die cuts that I've added, are available in the kit. Okay, and the book goes along just to show some photos of the grounds on which Dr. Frankenstein's castle is standing, and another picture of the river under the moonlight, and again, some other little spooky things that lie on the land surrounding Frankenstein's castle and the area around it. Okay, and a little picture of the library on the inside of the house. Now, the second signature moves on to the family photos. And here we have 2 photos, and on the back you'll find the description, the Steins, creators of the groom. And here we have another pair of parents, and they are the Munsters, creator of the bride. And of course, without having to tell you, we have our lovely couple, the bride and the groom, Frankenstein. And here we just have some extra photos of the groom. This happens to be my favorite, and this is the one on my cover. You can see him here with his normal hair, not the hair that came from the moss. We have the groom. And of course, we have the beautiful bride. Okay? And what would a wedding be without the maid of honor and the best man? And then, of course, we have to have the guests. So we have our little photos of most of the guests that were able to attend the wedding at midnight beside the river. And so here we go. Our last photo of our guest, and of course, another copy of the words that were written into the invitation. Now, no wedding, I should say, would be complete without wedding favors. And of course, we have photos of the handsome bride and groom. And what I've done is I've taken some of the photos that I've backed papers onto, and I have covered them, I have laminated them so that they look more like a funeral card. You know, when you go to a funeral and you pull those cards out that help you to remember the person that has passed? Well, that's the little gift cards that the bride and the groom are giving out as wedding favors for their wedding. So you can see I have here the bride. I wrote on the back of one, and the bride, which born 10/4/1818 and married a mere 27 days later. But of course, you know, she didn't start out as a baby. She started out as an adult. And of course, the groom is a bit older. He was born on 8/4/1818. And here we have yet another photo of the groom. Now, also, as a part of wedding gifts, wedding favors, we have to have table decorations. And if you remember, I think it was last weekend or the weekend before, I showed you how to make an upside down tag. Well, the idea for those tags using the It's a Date kit actually sprang from the idea that I had for my Bride of Frankenstein for the Creep on June 2025. And you can see here we have the groom and the little dangles off the bottom of his little specimen card, or should I say table decoration, because you could just imagine these. You know how they have flowers with those little picks? Okay, these just standing at the table, of course, of the groom and the bride, okay, decorating each person's table. So yeah, the little dangles on here, like I said, are another of those hearts, and of course a little bat, and the wedding rings. Okay, so I have one both for Frankenstein and for the Bride of Frankenstein, who in this case is Glory. Okay, and this is what we are going to make together today. So yes, finally, we have come to the part where you get to play along. Okay, I am just going to pull everything out, get everything together, and then we are going to get started on our make. I will be right back. All right, and we are back. And I actually am so happy that I took that little break in between showing you what we're going to make and actually starting the make, because I realized that I didn't have some of my supplies out. So what you are going to need, if you have not already printed out the kit, if you want to do it exactly the same way that I did it, and I'm just looking now, trying to find a piece of laminate. Excuse me. While we were gone, I also took a sip of coffee and I've gotten the hiccups. This one is the one we're going to make. It is exactly the same as this one, but what I have done is I have taken one of the backgrounds and I have used that for the paper for the tag itself. Now there's nothing on the back, and in this one I have printed out a picture of a bat and also a picture of a flying heart, okay, which I guess, a heart with bat wings, I guess that would be the best way to put it. And so, yeah, that's what we're going to use for our little dangles on the bottom of the tag we're going to create. And these labels here are also Tracy's. I used these in last week's video when we created the multi-pocket journal ephemera, or the journal stuffer. So yeah, I'm going to pull out, I have some of those printed here, and we're going to pull those out, and we are going to decorate the groom's card. Okay, I already have everything inked. I did not, however, cut anything out yet, because I wanted to show you how I came about deciding how big my little window would be. Okay, again, I have the ephemera here. Now I have backed these also, so that when they turn around, just like these, it's not white on the back. I don't want that to be the back of our little hangies there. Okay, and so what we need to do first is we need to create our window for Frankenstein so that he can be showing through the window onto the outside of our card. Now these are also the tags that are for my day, which is day number 2. Each day is numbered in the kit. All of the bases have the day number on them, printed on the piece of paper that they're on. I always print mine a little bit bigger. I printed these at 100%. Okay. So yeah, if mine look larger than the ones that you may be printing out, that's why I printed mine larger. I like to work with bigger pieces. Now, the way that I figured out how to cut my hole here is I just simply measured around my photo, and I want to make sure that I have him relatively centered and that he's also straight on here. And what I did, I took my pencil and I made a mark on each side of the photo. Again, I'm just trying to make sure this is straight. A little bit up from the bottom and a little bit over from the top. Okay, I did that on both sides. They may not be perfectly even, but that's okay. You know how I am. Nothing has to be perfect. And then I happen to be lucky enough to own a very small T ruler, T, shaped like a T, not the drink. And I take my T ruler and I'm going to line it up towards the edge of my little tag here. And I'm just going to draw a line. You're not going to see these lines. I'm going to make a very dark pencil line here. You're not going to see them because they're going to be covered up by the other side of your tag. And I'm just going to make part of that line a little bit darker because my pencil itself is hitting the ruler. Okay, there we go. Now we have a pencil line. So I have one for the bottom and I didn't measure for the top because I am not completely on my game, it appears. Okay, let's just measure here. Well, let's make this line up here a little bit higher up because I want to try and keep most of the electrical bolts that are, well, they're not really electrical bolts. They're more like, what do you call them? Tree branches that are growing out of Frankie's head, if you can see them here, and also out of his neck bolts, if you can see them. I took them as electrical, not lightning bolts, rather. Okay, so we made the line for the bottom of our photo, and now we need to make the line for the top of our photo, which again, I'm working around the tripod. And so I'm just going to make a very dark pencil line here. Yep, I got that one pretty good. And then I'm going to do one for each of the sides of the photo. And if I would just remember to flip my ruler the right way, we'd actually be a lot better off here. Okay, I've lost my, oh, there's my pencil line. Okay. And again, I'm going to do one down. And I'm making it very dark so that I can see it when I go and I cut out my space for my photo. Okay, so we're going to do this side as well. And like I said, yours can be whatever size you want it to be. I'm not even going to give you measurements because I didn't measure. Okay, so if you look here, you can see closely. If you look closely, you can see my pencil lines. Now, for those of you that have been following me for a long time, you also know that I have a terrible fear of those cutting knives. So what I tend to do is I will start cutting my photo frame area out and cut through the paper straight across, and then I will cut up like so. I did this last year and I've done it before. I'm going to cut up along that line as straight as possible, like so. Okay, and yes, this is like watching paint dry. Okay, cut there, and then I'm going to cut here, again across my pencil line, or alongside of my pencil line. And if this comes out straight, it will be a major miracle. And then I'm going to finally cut out this last piece here by, again, cutting along my pencil line. Now you'll see that this little slit here that really shouldn't be here is going to disappear, because what we're going to do is we are going to cut a piece of laminate, and I recycle my laminate from when I do my own laminating, and I will also recycle laminating that is done at work. And what I'll do is I am going to grab a Sharpie, and I'm going to make a little mark here. Actually, you know what? If I move this up a little, I really only have to make 2 cuts. I'm going to make a mark here where I want to cut my laminate, and I am going to make a mark here where I want to cut my laminate. Okay, and I'm just going to grab my little cutting board, which hopefully will be big enough to cut this out for me. And yes, it will. And I'm going to cut my piece of laminate out for our little window. Whoop. Okay, come on. Doesn't seem to want to cut today. And I don't know why not. Oh, there we go. It was a little stuck. Okay, let's cut that down. Okay, and we can put this extra piece aside for another adventure. And then I'm going to cut here where I made my little mark with my Sharpie. Okay, and there we have our little piece of laminate for our window, for our little table decoration. Okay, now before I add my laminate, I am going to ink around the inside of my little window here, and I'm only going to ink up to here because this part is going to get glued back down once I add the laminate. It's going to be like that cut isn't even there. So I'm just going to ink around the inside of the window. Okay, like so. Whoops, sorry if I hit you. Okay, and we'll ink here. And I can already see that little parts of it are a little crooked. But hey, nobody's perfect. Okay, and we'll just ink here. Like so. Remember, only ink around the inside edge if you're a little bit of a chicken like I am and don't like that little knife thing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for my glue. And then I'm going to put some glue close to the edge of the opening, but not too close because I don't want my glue to ooze out onto my window that will be covering. Oh, I just realized I forgot to do something. Okay, wait, cancel this because we have to measure. No, how am I going to do this? All right, I am going to first make, you know what? Let me add the laminate. Okay. And now I'm going to place my laminate down. Okay, like so. And push it down so that it stays stuck. You don't need oodles of glue because whether or not you believe it, your plastic will stay stuck. Okay, now I'm going to take my photo and I'm just going to figure out by using the pencil lines that I already placed down roundabouts where Frankie's picture needs to go. And so you can see I have this line here and this line here. And like I said, I wanted some of those lightning bolt tree trunks to show. So let's flip it and see if the parts of the picture we want to show are showing. I think I can actually move him a little bit closer to the center here so that we get most of the lightning bolt / tree trunks in the center, in the opening of our tag here. And let's just flip that over. Okay, I'm happy with that placement. So I'm going to flip my window open again, and I am just going to make some pencil marks here, up here and along here. Again, these are not going to show. They're going to be covered by the tag itself. This way I can take Frankie out and ink him, put glue on him, and I will know where I need to place him so that he's going to fit into our window. Okay, and I'm just going to put plenty of glue along the back of his photo, and we're going to place Frankie down, and we're going to line him up with those pencil marks and make sure that he's straight as well because the pencil marks might not be straight. And we're going to stick him down, okay? Then what we're going to do, see? That's the way Frankie's going to look in his picture. And you can see right here, you can barely see that line, okay, where we made the cut to create our opening. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to take my glue And I'm going to put it all around the edges of my tag, like so. And maybe just a little bit in the center here to help the tag stay stuck down. And a little bit under his photo so that the laminate, the portion of the tag under the laminate will stay stuck as well so that we don't have it popping. And then I'm just going to put a little glue here. And we are going to close up our tag like so. And we're going to push down away from the opening because we don't want any of the glue that might be oozing around under there to ooze onto our plastic. Okay. And there we go. We've created our tag. Okay. Now, what we can also do, I'm just going to ink around a little bit along these edges where I see that maybe the ink wasn't that strong. Oh, I have an itchy nose all of a sudden. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we are going to grab out some of these little tags here, and we're going to decorate the outside of our little tag. And I think maybe we'll pick this one and this one. Whoop, I have two there. This one and, oh no, I like this one. One more damson, then it's done. Okay, whatever. We have the little one that says Postmaster and that little one. And I could have sworn I saved one of the little tiny ones so that we had, okay, we can use this one. Reporter. Maybe we'll do that this way. We'll put this one up here. Actually, I think we're going to turn that around and we're going to put the Postmaster one here. Okay. And we'll put the little reporter one right up here, like so. Yeah. Yeah, that's, okay, that's pretty cool. You know me, I really don't do quick designing well. But yeah, I think we're going to stick with that idea. And then I could have sworn I had another little one, or a thin one. Yes, I do. We can actually put this little thin one up here so that his tag is similar to his wife's. Okay? I'm going to grab my glue. And I'm going to glue the little labels on, like so. Yeah, I hope all of you guys will go over. I always say guys, and I know that it's something that I guess is not politically correct anymore. I hope that my entire crafty gang will go over. You know what? I'm going to grab this blue one. I like the blue with the green a little bit better. My crafty gang will go over and subscribe to everyone's channel. We do have some new contributors this year. So yeah, if you may be subscribed already to a lot of the people that you know from years gone past. But we do have some new contributors this year. So please go over and make sure that you subscribe to their channels as well. And this way you'll know when everything's coming out and when everything is going on. You'll get a notification on your YouTube that will say, hey, it's June 2nd. Open up Joni's video to see what she did for Creep on June. Okay, now we're going to add this little one up here, like so, up in the corner. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide Frankie a little bit sideways so that I can be sure that I'm getting this number 1 on straight and number 2 in the right spot. Okay, I don't want it hanging off the edge of the tag. Okay, there we go. So there we have that. And now what we're going to do is we are going to grab our little crocodile, and I'm going to grab my eyelets, and we're going to add our eyelets. Now let's see if I can actually, I think I'm going to grab 3 gray ones for this one. 1, 2, and let's make sure I have the right color. 3. Okay, and I'm just going to punch a hole. Now I already have my little measuring spot already measured out, so I know that I don't go too far up into the tag itself. And I'm going to punch a hole right in the middle, like so. And then I'm going to do one like we did on the other one. I'm going to line up the corner with the side of my crocodile, like so. And this way I know that my holes are relatively measured out properly. And then we are going to take and we are going to add on our eyelids. And I just realized, oh yes, I did. I took them out. I have my little bowl pins so we can add our dangles. I did not, however, grab out a wedding ring for poor Frankie. And I will do that. Okay. And let's get our last one done here, like so. So we have all of our little holes on our upside down tag, which technically is a table decoration. And I'm going to grab out some of my bowl pins. I think I'll use silver. I think the silver will go really well with the gray. And here's one more silver. Okay, so we have that. And I'll also grab out a wedding ring for little Frankie. Okay, now we can measure about approximately where we want to punch our holes for our little dangles simply by, I'm doing it with these because these are bat wings, so that I have a relatively good idea of where I should punch my hole so that they dangle properly and that they're not too close to one another. And I should say not too close to the wedding ring. So I'm going to make a little pencil mark right about where I want to make my holes. And I will grab my crocodile back and I will use the small side of my crocodile. And I am going to put a little hole in that bat wing. And I'm going to, you can see I've made the holes relatively close to the corners so that they will dangle far out enough and dangle opposite of each other as well. And so we can add our bats onto our tag here, like so. And let's just grab, I can hear someone playing basketball outside. And I don't know if it's my neighbor's son, who is now off for the summer. Yes, friends, school is closed. It is June here in Florida, and although people up north, I'm more used to school being closed at the end of June. Here in Florida, it closes at the end of May. Okay, so we have our little bat and our bat heart dangling on the bottom of our tag. I was doing some embossing earlier, and I think there is still some embossing powder that is floating around, and it is making my nose terribly itchy. Okay, so there we go. We have our little upside down tag for Frankie that we created together. Let me get those out of the way. And here is the other one that we created. And if you notice, they are looking at each other. And these are the ones that I created before. And of course, I would put a little bull clip on top of each of them. Okay. And again, a quick glimpse. Let me put these away. Yeah, there is still embossing powder on my table, and that is what's making my nose itch. Our wedding favors, our party favors, our funeral cards. Okay, like so, and like so. Okay, our wedding album. Okay, I won't walk you through it all over again, but this is our little wedding album. And as I said, it's created just the same as our family album. And my little Creep on June journal with my quote-unquote spooky fluffy-haired Frankie on the front. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you stuck around to wait and see what we made. And I hope you had fun with what we made. I know I enjoyed making every single thing for my Creep on June. And as I said, I will have everything linked in the description box below. Please go over, click on every single day, okay? And subscribe to the maker for the day. And be sure to watch their video. And of course, I am going to send you lots of love, big hugs. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment, not only on my videos, but also on the videos for everyone else in the make. It helps boost their channels, gets them more noticed on YouTube so that their videos will pop up for others to see. And of course, go over and check out the kit in the Etsy shop. It is 30% off right now. Okay, you need to go over and check it out. I know Tracy's been doing a lot of promotions. It is on sale. And so, yeah, go over, pick up your kit. You'll be very surprised. There are pages in there with word searches. There's a page that is similar to a Candyland game or Chutes and Ladders, one of the two. And word searches. Oh, gosh, I forgot what they're called. The pictures where you have to pick out the things in the picture. Those things. And yeah, it's a lot of fun this year. And not that it hasn't been before, but there's a lot of funny things in it too. Okay? Love, hugs, like, subscribe, comment. Thanks for watching. And I will see you soon because I will be back doing different makes throughout the month. I'm not going to guarantee you that I'm going to be doing a make every single day, but I will catch you up if I've done a few and just like last year. Okay? I'll see you soon. Again, thank you so much for watching. Love, hugs. Bye.